The Spirit and the betrothed said, "Come." Let anyone who hears it answer, "Come." Let the thirsty come forward. Let all who desire it accept the gift of life-giving water. Good morning, All Saints. My name is Sara Schulze, and I am the last person you'd expect to be giving a sermon. Right about now, you're probably asking yourself, what does she mean? I've seen her in that choir since she was in kindergarten. She seems like the perfect person to preach. First, let me say how honored I am that that's all what you were thinking, but I bet that I can change your mind in just 5 words. Ready? I don't believe in God. Please put down your pitchfork. Okay, there are none. Well, yeah, I guess I'll just let that sit with you for a second. But wait, I promise that there's a positive aspect of this. Because, and I'm sorry for spoiling this for you, but I bet that all of you have had that exact same thought at one point or another. Something bad will happen in the world, a mass shooting or a death of a child, and we as humans start to question the existence of God. Well, I'm up here telling you that that's okay. That's normal. Because it's in our nature to be curious. It's in our nature to question. So, to anyone out there, and to anyone streaming this, who isn't sure what they believe in spiritually or religiously, I extend an extra special welcome from one questioner to another. And now, a word that sends chills down most people's backs: privilege. I'm only 18, and I have privilege. I know, right? Crazy to hear those words be admitted by a white teenager, but I have privilege. I live with my married parents and little sister in a mid-sized house in the suburbs. I maintained a 3.9 GPA while participating in extracurriculars. I had dance class at least 4 times a week, and we always had dinner on the table. I always knew that I was lucky, but it wasn't until 6th grade that I started to see the truth of the world around me. On New Year's Eve 2012, I sat watching a movie with my family and our friends. We played games, sang songs, and had a good, wholesome time. It wasn't until the next day, the first day of 2013, a new year of dreams and resolutions, that we found out that my Aunt Hillary had been hit by a drunk driver. At the time, she had been battling breast cancer, which ultimately killed her while she was comatose after the crash. I remember that night, sitting out on our porch, looking up at the stars, and I denounced God. I didn't want any connection to the entity that took away someone I loved. I sat angry at the world, angry at the stars, but mostly angry at myself. I lived each day in a daze, missing the innocent world I used to live in. The numbness then became comfortable. I wandered through middle school, craving some form of external validation in order to feel anything. I thought, it's okay, high school will be different. We all love High School Musical. Freshman year came and left, and it was not like High School Musical. Then came sophomore year. To fully understand this part of my story, you need to know these 4 things that happened within 2 weeks in the fall of 2016. 1, an old friend's sister died in a car crash. 2, my boyfriend broke up with me. 3, Hillary lost the election, which was a campaign that I had put a lot of time into. And then the day after the election, my grandmother died suddenly. When I heard that my grandmother had passed, I finally felt again. She had been an extremely influential woman in my life. She marched on Washington with Martin Luther King Jr. and showed nothing but compassion and care for those around her. She lived her life in pursuit of loving everyone she met. She was more than a good person. She was God. Granted, not in the literal sense, but she was God. That God I'd heard so much about growing up in church, that was Mary Lou Schulze. She existed, and she was real, just not up in the sky. She walked the earth, and I was lucky enough to have been enveloped in her warmth. My Nana grew up on a farm in a German community in rural Wisconsin. She married my bumpa a month before her 18th birthday and had my uncle when she was only 20. She knew that she was lucky to have the life she did, so she paid it forward. In most of northern Wisconsin, wait, real quick. How many of you have been to northern Wisconsin? It's pretty white. In most of northern Wisconsin, especially Green Bay, where my dad's family resided, there wasn't a lot of diversity, except for on the football field. But since my grandpa was the sportscaster for the Green Bay Packers, she took it upon herself to make anyone of color feel welcome in their home. She had them over for dinner, listened to their stories, and worked in her own special ways to make a difference. Above all else, she treated anyone and everyone as her equal. That life-giving water thing I talked about earlier, that's what she did to anyone who needed it. Towards the end of her life, she was still paying it forward. She knitted shawls for those in hospice care, worked for nursing homes, and just was an amazing grandmother. Her life was privileged, and instead of being a part of the problem, she created her own solution. The God or Jesus or whomever didn't reside in heaven. She had been here amongst us, and now she had died. I couldn't bring myself to fly back for her funeral. Instead, I decided that it was finally time to buckle down and get help. I found a therapist, started opening up to people, and found a community that would support me. A lot of that community came from my choir family, and soon enough, my two best friends, Lucas and Hannah Goodwin, both of whom I may or may not have forced to join True Bears. Hi, Hannah. Once I started my journey into having normal people emotions, I kept going back to my grandmother. I missed hearing her voice and seeing her smile and receiving her hugs and hearing her say, "Oh, geez." But this time, instead of letting myself fall apart, I took action. The privilege I had and the privilege I have didn't bring happiness to my life. Something that did was speaking out. I used the privilege I had to make change for all who didn't share that privilege. I worked because I had a lot of that life-giving water to give. I tried my hardest to be the woman my grandmother had been, to be a God on earth. It helped me open up and learn and grow and finally love again. Today, I stand before you, an 18-year-old, about to graduate from Crescenta Valley High School in just less than 7 days. I've learned more about myself in the past 2 years than I had in any part of my life before. I learned that I want to continue my passion in helping others by pursuing a career in talent management. I learned that it is okay to love both boys and girls and anyone in between. I learned that I would be attending DePaul University this fall with the intent to double major in journalism and business administration, as well as pursue minors in both philosophy and fashion merchandising. Yeah, that's 4 things. I learned that it was good to steal the spotlight as I performed leads in school plays. And I learned to stop apologizing for things that I didn't do. I learned to stop yearning for attention from boys because teenage boys are stupid. I learned that no matter your religion, or in my case, lack thereof, we believe in the same God. Muslim, Buddhist, Wicca, atheists, agnostics, we all believe in one thing, which is to love. No matter what, an omnipotent spirit said to all, "Come." The spirit said anyone, black, white, gay, straight, cis, trans, come and drink the water. To those stuck in poverty and war in South America, the spirit said, "Come." To the children torn away from their families at the border, the spirit said, "Come." To the transgender soldiers in our military who only want to protect our country, the Spirit said, come. To the young girls who are told that boy on the playground pushed you down because he has a crush on you, the Spirit said, come, because that's not okay. To the young boys who are too afraid to ask for the Barbie in Target because of what their dad will say when he comes home, the Spirit said, come. To the empowered women who are reclaiming their time and going back to college to pursue what they want to do with their life, the Spirit said, come. To the wonderful people in Congress who are working their hardest to make sure that our country stays on the path of the Constitution, the Spirit said, come. To the women in Missouri and Alabama and Georgia and anywhere in the South that is taking away the right to a woman's choice, the Spirit says, come. Come and accept the gift of life-giving water. Because the Spirit knew that she had more than enough to share. Thank you.